are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You look tired. Are you okay?
Yeah. No, I just got done with working out. So
Oh, you're so good.
yeah, it kind of after the workout I kind of have like a downfall, and then it kind of builds up once I start getting in the momentum of things. You'll see, especially
You'll start
through this
ramping up.
episode. Yeah, it'll ramp up.
You'll be fine. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. For people that have no idea, I want everyone to know I discovered you on TikTok, as most people did. However, not through your financial planning and how to save money and make money content. I discovered you through your content creation content.
Yep.
So explain to people why you even started on TikTok to begin with and why you pivoted to add a second account.
Yeah, so the spark notes of my story, I guess, start when I was a junior in high school, 17 years old. Um, this was during COVID, and I just realized that I needed to get my shit together, and I didn't want to go to college and do the traditional route. So started learning about e-commerce, started e-commerce businesses, Amazon FBA, drop shipping, all those types of things, and they failed miserably after about 8 to 10 months. And I got really passionate about personal wealth, financial literacy, compound interest. And so I knew I needed to get money in. So I got a minimum wage job just at like a nutritional shop. And while I was doing that, I was making TikToks because I was so irritated at the fact of people just lying about the e-commerce space, not talking about personal finance. And so that's what I created my first TikTok account around. Well, initially I started on YouTube. That didn't do well. And then I transitioned to TikTok. But yeah, I just started creating TikToks around my experience with e-commerce business, what I believe people my age should be doing, what they should be focusing on, self-improvement, mindset type of stuff. Grew that first account to 50,000 followers in less than 2 months. This was going into my senior year now, and people were wondering how I grew that TikTok account, because this was during the time of like TikTok famous. TikTok was a new platform. Everyone wanted to get on the hype. And so instead of me just repeating myself to all my coworkers and friends, I just thought, well, I'll just create another account talking about social media tips, how I create content, what I recommend, what worked for me, etc. And so I created that account, which most of you probably know me by, Coach Stone. Grew it to 100,000 followers in a couple months, and turned 18, started my social media agency, TikTok agency, helping creators and brands grow and make money. And then by that November, which was a couple months, I was making my monthly paycheck in a day. So I quit my job, continued to scale my business. And within halfway of senior year, I made already 100,000 from TikTok. So showed my parents that, and they said, you can do whatever you want. So I chose not to go to college, continued to scale the business. Continue to create content, been doing it for over 3 years now. And a couple months ago, I was solo traveling for 10 months, did that whole shebang. Now I'm kind of settling in, got my new apartment, but that was a lot of fun. And now we're here just continuing to do the same thing with the aim of impacting people with no fluff.
Well, let's back it up a little bit before we get back to here, because I do want to ask you about here and about taking a break and solo traveling. But when I saw you, of course, the first thing in my brain is like, who the is this kid, and why the does he think he knows all about this? Like, are you kidding me? How did you break through that noise? Because at 17, how are you even talking about being motivated and doing all these things and breaking through that noise of this is a kid, he doesn't know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to confidence, and you build confidence by just repetition and by having so much proof that shows you are who you say you are. You know what you know. And I just read the books, I watched the videos, I did the modules, I did the work that just proved to myself that I am this person. I am this person that's on his journey of becoming an entrepreneur. This person that knows social media because I've posted thousands of videos. I've grown multiple accounts. I've helped hundreds of other people do it. So I don't really care what user 65821 says. I've been doing the work and I know what I know. And the other thing too is, when I initially started, I didn't really come off as this expert because I wasn't. I was a teenager that was working a minimum wage job, failed at all these e-commerce businesses. I wasn't this expert that made hundreds of thousands of dollars with this space. So I didn't come out as that. I came out as, hey, I lost a couple grand doing this thing that this person told everyone I could make, $10,000 a month. And here's why I failed. Here's where the mistakes that destroyed me. Here's why I didn't like the business model. Here's why I wasn't truly bought in after 7, 8, 10 months into it. Here's what I would have done differently. Here's what I recommend. If I had to go back, this is what I would do. And talking in terms of that from that stance, instead of this is what you need to do, this is what you should. And even if I said that, I would slip in here's what I believe you should do. Here's what I believe you should know. And I
in
think
that space, sorry to interrupt you, but in that space, it seems like it's really the people making money are the ones coaching other people to do the thing. Does that make sense? Like, well, 100%. It's very hard to break into e-commerce.
Yeah. But I think in any space, in order for you to make a substantial amount of money coaching people, you need to have the credibility and the results that show you are an expert in this, right? The only reason why people listen to Gary Vee is because he's built multiple businesses to multiple millions, if not billions of dollars. The only reason why people listen to an Alex Hormozy is because he sold a business for $47 million, right? The only reason why people listen to me is because I've built multiple accounts. I've made the money from social media outside of coaching. I've done the brand deals. I've helped other people do it. And I just have the proof that shows I am who I say I am.
So I'm helping a couple of clients actually get their kids involved in social media and YouTube, especially now, because we'll have this conversation in a minute, and where TikTok stands right now. But how did you convince your parents to show your face, be on camera at 16, 17 years old? Or did you not even ask? Was this just like, well, we'll ask for forgiveness, not permission?
Yeah, I think it was kind of more of that, because I was like maybe 13 and 14. I always loved the idea of social media and just creating content around something that you would love. And growing up, I was just a traditional teenager. I played hockey, was my sport. I went to school, played hockey, played video games. That was pretty much my day every day. And while I was playing video games, I just loved these video streamers, these gamers on YouTube. And I always wanted to do that. So I would stream and create YouTube videos of me playing video games when I was maybe 14, 13 years old, 15 years old. And that never did, well. And I actually got a lot of negativity and backlash from that, just from people at school. And so that's why I stopped that. And then going into social media, I would say, 17, 18 years old, they knew that I was in this space of trying to build a business, of marketing, of, going a non-traditional route. Because one day I went to him and I was like, listen, I don't want to do this traditional route. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to go work a job. And they said, well, you're going to have to. And I go, why? And they said, money and security. And I go, I totally understand that. And I'm empathetic towards that. They want their kid to be able to provide for himself and for his family. And I totally understood that. But I knew that money was a leverage point. And so I knew that I had about a year and a half to get an X amount of money to show them that I can do whatever I want. And that's when I also realized that money controls your life, whether you like it or not. And so you have a choice to either have a good relationship with money or a bad, negative relationship with money. And I just had a turning point at 16, 17 years old to where I was like, money is the ultimate thing that's going to change. Going to control my life. So I better understand it, know it, like it. And I did. And I saw that other people didn't. And that kind of irritated me, because I'm like, here you are buying a $300 pair of shoes, but yet you're still pissed off that you live in with your parents, or that, you can't travel to this place, or that you're working at that job. And it's like the level of ignorance and arrogance is just astonishing. And so that kind of triggered me to instead of being the at the lunch table telling everyone to invest into index funds, to, use this passion into my TikTok videos. And I think that's why those videos did well, is because it was just rooted in passion and irritation. And our irritations obviously reveal passion. So, it wasn't really a permission thing. However, there are obviously a lot of parents that have that guard up, which rightfully so. I mean, I think if your kid is under 14, he or she shouldn't even be on social media. And I'm a big proponent of like, take away the iPad, let your kids go outside. I'm very fortunate to where we were at, I would say, the last generation. I was born in 2003, the last generation where we got to go outside and spend time playing and having relationships with friends instead of just being constantly glued to the iPad 24/7, which I think is just a downfall for a lot of kids. So it is a tricky standpoint, but I was old enough to where I could really just, make the decision myself.
My daughter will tell you she's 12. TikTok raised her. So I'm a terrible parent, but I'm also a content creator. So when I need time to create content, yes, watch TikTok and YouTube, have at it. They're at this point where I'm just like, I'm just over it. And they're actually much better at content creation than I am. So it is what it is. When you were talking about money ruling our lives in a good or a bad way, right? I kind of almost feel that way about content. And I talk to my clients about that because if you're not having fun, you don't have to use the platform, right? There's other ways to market. You don't have to use TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Meta, Snapchat, YouTube. You don't have to do this because I know a lot of people feel this like FOMO of like, oh, I'm not posting enough or I'm not doing this enough. And they get that feeling of like they're drowning. Right? Like they have, thousands of videos on their camera reel, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, you don't have to do this. If you don't find joy in this, if you don't find this having like fun in this, then don't worry about it. Have you talked to clients about that have been like overwhelmed with trying to keep up with content creation and 3 videos a day and the algorithm, which we'll talk about? Yeah. Like what advice do you have for people? Do you tell everybody jump in both feet or do you say, hey, maybe this isn't for you?
It's interesting because it's like, obviously it's not for everyone, because there's people out there that just don't have that ambition, don't have that work ethic, don't have that self-accountability. And so I'm lucky enough to get in front of people that already have that. And I have a great system to kind of bring those people to me. So we don't really run into that problem, but I do think that finding joy, finding fun in the process is so important. For me, that's putting on tunes 20, 30 minutes before I film while I'm scripting, or in between videos just to keep the energy and the vibes high. And then also having a mix of like creating content for the soul and then creating content for the audience, the algorithm, and your niche, so to speak, or business. I think you got to find that balance. However, it is important to have that consistent messaging, that consistent branding, so to speak. So finding ways to integrate the things that you truly like into what you're trying to do with your content is important. Whether it be, I don't know, shopping, fashion. For me, it's pickleball, golf, cooking, movies. I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to integrate those things because that's what keeps the soul alive. That's what keeps the engine running instead of you just constantly talking about how to make money in real estate. I mean, it's like, if you don't integrate, some of these things that create you, who you are, A, you're probably not going to connect with people on a stronger relationship, emotional way, but B, you're going to quit and you're not going to like it. And I mean, every successful person has probably already said by now, find something that you enjoy, find something that makes you happy, find something that you love, or else you're just never going to find that extra amount of work ethic, ambition, determination to put in the work that is required for you to make, the business or the content work. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you about scripting. When you are scripting, how deep are you going? Are you just writing hooks? Are you coming up with different ideas? Are you going to read off a teleprompter? Like how deep into scripting are you going? And then how many videos do you record when you're batch creating? Because you're not just going to record one 30-second video.
Yeah. So I go pretty deep. I go word for word. And that's just because I get so into my head when the camera gets in front of me. I'm like, what am I going to say? Now, occasionally I'll wake up with a great idea or, I'm cooking or driving the car and I'm like, I got it. And I'll just riff that video. I'll just pick up TikTok and record through TikTok. And I do that occasionally. But when I'm batching, when I'm scripting and all that, I'm scripting at least probably 20 videos. And that takes me a few hours, if not, maybe sometimes an entire day if they're very long videos. But what that does is when I film, I can get through all those videos within, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then I send them off to my editor or I edit some. And right there, I have, 20 videos ready for the day. I mean, for the week.
For
sorry.
the month, for the week, if you're doing,
yeah.
how many are you doing? Like average 3 a day?
Yeah. And when I was going hard with both of my accounts, I was making 6 a day. So I was making 40 videos every weekend. Right. And so you have to, really perfect that workflow, which takes time. I think a lot of people are like, oh, just because I didn't get 40 videos done like Coach Stone does, I'm just a failure and this thing doesn't work for me. It's like, no, that my batch day was usually always Sundays, and sometimes it's Saturdays, but it took me a couple Saturdays, couple Sundays to really improve it and to make it more efficient for my time. And I think that's what people forget is that, like, when you start something new, you're going to suck at it. And you have to embrace that in order to get good. And just the more reps you put in that stage of when you suck, the quicker you get to a point to where you get good at it. And we often only like things that we're good at. And so it's really important to embrace that moment where you're not as good as at something, to get through it so you can get to the other side of the wall.
Well, 2 things. Yes, embrace the suck. And then the other thing is, because I'm starting small, I'm not big by any means, but there's something beautiful about creating in the dark. When no one's watching, you can genuinely be yourself because you don't feel like, exactly, oh, who's going to make a comment or what troll's going to come at me or like, am I going to get blocked today because somebody hates me? You can just freely create content because nobody's watching. And it's the most freeing thing and the best feeling. Something shifts, I think, energetically when you start gaining traction, which you did quickly. Yeah. Did you find it start impacting you emotionally and start overthinking the content that you were putting out when you were like, oh, I have 100,000 views. Now I have 100,000 followers. Now I have 150,000 followers. Oh my God. Did it change sort of how your output was?
Yeah, initially I blew up. I mean, with my first batch of like 7 videos, I had one that got a couple 100,000 views, and I made a huge mistake of being trapped in this, what I call hamster wheel for external results or vanity metrics. And you get stuck in this hamster wheel of just constantly trying to get more views, constantly trying to get more followers. And then next thing you know it, you're creating content that A, you don't want to be known for, and B, you don't want to create long term. And so I got hit with that, and I was like, either A, I quit, or B, I eat the short term bullet and create content that I want to create, and hope that people come around to it. And that's what I did. And, I went from each video getting hundreds of thousands of views to now videos getting 2,000 views.
Yeah, but that's also the time frame we're in. When you hit during like TikTok peak, right?
Yeah.
We are now in TikTok shop land, which makes no sense. And I need to ask you about this because you said putting out 3 videos a day. When I do 3 videos a day on TikTok, I get 10 views. It's almost like you're spamming the algorithm. I get very little views. When I do 1 to 2 a day and space them out, spacing them out, then it's like, oh, okay, maybe we'll give you some play. But it's the weirdest thing when it thinks I'm spamming it. It completely suppresses the videos.
Yeah, I mean, I found that unless you are creating like a media channel where you're posting 20 videos a day, posting within the same hour kind of does that, where it's kind of confused of which video to throw out. But when I would post 3 times a day, I would space them out. Yeah, like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and then 1 at night. And it didn't. And again, I still do it, and so there's no problem with that. I think people just focus so much on this algorithm and like overthink it and think about it as like a huge technological machine that they have to hack or play to the tune to, and it's completely false. And honestly, it's just coming from a lot of social media gurus and TikTok coaches playing off of people's ignorance of this algorithm and trying to complicate it so that way they are forced to work with them. I'll break down the algorithm super simple for you. first off, anytime you use the word algorithm, replace it with audience, because the algorithm caters to the audience. So when you say like, I feel like the algorithm thinks I'm spamming it, the audience might think that you're spamming it. But the problem is that like the audience isn't watching all of your videos, A. B, if people dislike you from putting out too much valuable content, that's on to them. That's like, if they're going to unfollow you for that, fine. Get them out of your ecosystem. If they don't want your value, that's like people unsubscribing to your email list. You want those people out. And so I think every time you use the word algorithm, replace it with the audience. If you want a technical, like a tactical or practical outlook on how the algorithm works, every time you post a video, it's going to be sent out to a small initial group of people. Might be 10, might be 100, might be 200. And that's why a lot of people probably get stuck at that 200 view range, is because they're getting sent out to a small initial group of people. And that video is not doing well in terms of a metric standpoint. Watch time, shares, saves, likes, comments. And those are actually the most important metrics in order. But people need to resonate with that small initial group of people first to get sent out to more people. And you do that by creating good content, not by putting text off the screen, using certain hashtags, or posting at a certain time. It's creating content that those 100 people feel the need to watch and engage with, which will then tell the algorithm that, okay, this video landed with this set of people. Let's push it out to people similar to that people. Because people think that like the algorithm is hurting them or wants them to not do well. It's actually the complete opposite. The only way TikTok makes money is if you do well. So they want you to help them, and they want to help you. They want you to put out good content that's going to keep people on the platform, and they want to match it with an audience to do best with, to incentivize you to keep creating that good content, but also to keep people on the platform. And so I think instead of asking the question of like, how can I beat the algorithm? How can I hack the algorithm? Start asking, how can I serve the algorithm? How can I serve the audience better than people out there already? And that's hard because the competition is so big now, but this is just the game that we're playing. And so you either sit and complain about it, or you go to work and you try to make good content that people want to watch. It might have been easier 3 years ago, but I guarantee you it's going to be easier now than it will be 3 years in the future. So you either keep, overthinking and procrastinating and complaining, or you take advantage of this opportunity and the significance of the number of competition compared to what it's going to be 3 years later down the road. And so that's up to you. But for me, I'm like, get to work and improve your skills so you can make better content, which is just getting in the reps.
Well, and talking about batch creating again, would you do 3 videos, change your outfit, switch your camera angle, 3 videos, change your outfit, switch your camera angles? How deep into making it look like it was a different day, different outfits? So you don't have 20 videos in the same outfit in the same spot.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't really care. Like I have like 3 shirts that I rotate with. Sometimes I'll just switch out my hat or put my hair in a man bun or something. But yeah, I don't think that type of stuff really matters that much, because again, most people are not binge watching your content.
I don't see. I'm a binge watcher. If I
but most people aren't.
Most people just stay in that feed.
Yeah, I mean, they watch one video, and if they like it, they might go binge watch your other videos, but they're not going to pay attention to what you're wearing. They're going to be paying attention to what you're providing them.
Okay. Maybe it's my ADHD.
They're not going to be like, oh, this person's wearing a white shirt with every video. No, they're going to be like, oh, this was a great tip that I could use for my business or whatever.
I think I recognize it because it's like I know they're batch creating. So in my brain, I'm like, oh, they did this many videos on this day, right? Does that make sense? So I think
you're analyzing it, which is what you should be doing as a content creator. But most people aren't content creators, and they're not analyzing it. They're just consuming it for their own good.
Okay, so I'll put less emphasis on changing my outfit every 3 videos.
I mean, but it is good. It adds variety. It's another it's a visual thing that you need to test.
It's a visual differentiator. Yeah,
100%. I just wouldn't put too much emphasis on it. I would put more emphasis on the script, on your hook, on the visual aspect of your video, how your videos look, what captions are you using, how your captions look, what overlays and B-roll you're using, how you are keeping the viewer watching, the structure of your video, if you're telling a story, how you're telling that story, all that type of stuff is where people should be putting their focus into, not what they're wearing or when they're posting their video.
So when you took a break, because you took a break, what was it, 7 months ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you consciously know, okay, I'm going to take a break when I go travel? I'm not going to worry about content. Were you scared to take that break? What was like the impetus to that moment of, I need to stop this and go travel?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was working a lot when I was traveling. I traveled for about 10 months, and I would say for the first like 6 or 7 months, I was still working. But I don't know. Like towards the end, I was like, I wasn't feeling that passionate about what I was talking about and how I was creating content. It was hard to get in the routine because I was on the move pretty much every 4 or 5 days. Some of these hostels, some of these places had workspaces, some of them didn't. So it was kind of just hard. I had a lot of limiting beliefs and creative obstacles in the way. But I would, occasionally try to get videos out. But I just felt like, all right, I'm not putting 100% into this. I'm going to instead put 100% into my well-being and my experiences while traveling and get my money's worth here. And then, when I come back, really figure out, okay, what's going on here with myself internally, and what do I want to do with my business and content. And that took some time of self-reflection, but I just needed a break. I mean, I was creating 3 videos a day for 2.5 years, 3 years. And it's like, if you don't stop and get some gas, you're going to run out of gas, and you're just
burnout is real. So, burnout is very real. How was it coming back? Did you ease into it, or were you just like full send? And what did you learn while you were away? Like, what did you, after self-reflection, decide, okay, this is how we're going to do this?
Well, I learned a lot about burnout. I think I learned that majority of burnout doesn't necessarily come from you working all the time. It comes from what you're doing when you're not working. So, a lot of people think that like, oh, I'm burnt out, I should just relax and scroll on social media and watch Netflix. And it's like, you should do the exact opposite. Because what that's doing is that it's exhausting your brain. You're subconsciously comparing yourself. You're subconsciously thinking about all the terrible things you're doing or not doing. And then what you truly should be doing is doing something that's the exact opposite in the meaning of difficulty. You should be doing something insanely hard, because what that'll do is that'll get you momentum to continue on doing the thing. And I'm a big proponent of momentum. And also to give you dopamine to continue going and continue taking action, give you that confidence. And it'll just build your stress tolerance and discipline to do the things that you need to do, regardless of how you're feeling. And so I just put my phone away for majority of my day. Like, I would get up and scroll on social media. I don't do that anymore. And anytime that I'm mindlessly scrolling on social media, I ask myself, like, all right, what's my objective here? If I don't have one, I get off of it. I focus on myself. I do that a ton, going to work out, journaling, meditating, going to church, like all those things, super important for me. Staying connected with people, like all these things are important. And then I would say the last thing is like, eliminate the term burnout from your vocabulary, because it does nothing for you. It doesn't. And so, what it truly does is just reinforce the behavior that you have no energy. And when you tell yourself that you're burnt out, or when you have no energy, you're going to do things that require a small amount of energy, like scrolling on social media, like watching Netflix, like doing all the other things that that you're doing to avoid the actual work that you need to do. And then it like also comes down to this, like, passion. What do I like? What do I not like? What do I want to fix? All that type of stuff is just self-reflection that you learn from doing things, from reflecting on things, from journaling. And I did a lot of that, which was needed for me to understand really, okay, why was I feeling this way, and how can I avoid that moving forward? And what do I want my life to look like a year, 3, 5 years from now?
Well, and what is that? Because we had a conversation prior to this, and you mentioned like pickleball and golf and wanting to do more content around that, and then focusing on YouTube again and not just TikTok, which I think is smart personally.
Yeah.
Where do you really see yourself evolving as a creator, not just a small business owner, but as a creator?
Yeah, so those are like my passion projects that I would love to do for a living. I think anyone that is super passionate about golf, or anyone listening that has friends or maybe a husband that's super passionate about golf, I think we can all agree that playing golf for a living is the dream life for all of us. So that would be the ideal vision, 5 years from now. And the only reason why I say 5 years from now is because I truly believe that something like that would take at least 3 years to build. Just like it took 3 years to build what I'm doing. But the thing that I truly love about what I do currently is just helping people. That's why I go on shows, podcasts all the time for free with no cost or expectation of getting something in return, because I genuinely want to help people. And if I can just help one person stop wasting their time, or stop wasting energy focusing on the wrong things, that's a win in my book, and that really drives me. The thing I didn't really like is just constantly talking about things that I felt lack importance, or were just boring. Like, I was creating at least one video a week about hashtags, and it's just like, how mundane and boring can we get here? Right. And so now I'm just, starting to really think about how I can integrate my passions and what I like into my content while still serving my audience. And that's a difficult thing to figure out, but it can become easier once you really understand the overarching objective with your content, what your passions are, and then starting to get really creative with how to integrate those. Right. So I like to play golf. I've been thinking about, setting up the camera when I'm putting, and sharing some social media tips, integrating stories of very successful golfers like Tiger Woods, and how he says he has at least 1,000 contacts with the golf ball a day, and relating that to a creator and saying, hey, like, you got to put in the work. You got to create these videos every single day to just improve your skills, to not, necessarily become the best golfer of all time or best creator of all time, but to just get better. And that fires me up, and I'm passionate about that. So that's what my ideal like vision would look like. But obviously, we all want to become financially free. Obviously, we want to have time to go, on vacations and stuff like that. And so that's also built into all of that. But yeah, I mean, I know that there was a lot going on there.
No, I got it. Have you ever had to break up with a client? Has there ever been a client that you're like, they're not doing the thing and they're blaming me for it? Like,
yeah, multiple times. I actually have requirements in place that say that if the client doesn't post at least 1 to 3 times a day, it used to be 3 times a day, but I'm now on 1 to 3 times a day. If they don't integrate my strategies and tips, and if they don't go through the curriculum at a set pace, that it's a cancellation of the partnership with no refund. And what that does is that it locks the client in to say, all right, like, this is time to get to work and not, kind of around. But what it also does for me is that increases the likelihood of their success and likelihood of implementing what I tell them to do, which will lead to their success, which will look good on me, obviously, because the clients are doing well. And I had a huge mistake starting out of not having these client requirements in place. And so people were doing exactly what you were talking about, like would post 2 to 3 times a month, then come on these calls and say, hey, Stone, your strategies don't work. You suck. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, you're not doing the work here. And that's why you're not succeeding. And a lot of success really just comes down to doing the action repetitively and improving it to 1%. And people just like, they either don't know that or they do know that, but they don't do it. And I think when people put a couple $1,000s on the line, they're way more likely to do it. And so but yeah, I mean, in terms of having to break up with clients, multiple times, yeah.
Yeah, I'm growing a business, and so it's literally helping people create content. I have editors, the whole thing, and it's just like there's this weird concept of return on investment when it comes to content creation. And you always have to go back to like, what is it that you want to get out of this? Is it just brand recognition? Do you want followers? Like, what is the end goal here? And being clear on what that is. Because I sometimes think they just want, oh, I want brand recognition. But then they're looking at the views and the follows. And then you're blamed because it's like, it's not good enough. Well, maybe let's make better content.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain that. How do you have that conversation nicely with clients?
Well, I tell them that, this is an indefinite goal. So this isn't something where you get the audience or you get your clients from social media and then you just stop. It's very similar to going to the gym. It's not like when you get the 6-pack, you stop going to the gym. And so I always like ingrain in all of my clients of the long-term mindset of like, this is a year/decades game. And my goal here is to just expedite the process for you to reach a higher level of success where you are now, and for you to maintain that over the course of the years to come, because what we do here is useless if you're just going to quit in 2 years. And so I always put consistency and long-term or longevity at the number one priority, and with that comes having fun, creating content around something that you want to be known for and that you want to create long term and all that type of stuff. But in terms of the ROI aspect, it's like, this isn't something that you can measure direct ROI from, because there are elements that we cannot control, which is the algorithm, which is how people interact with our stuff, which is where we are getting shown to. Now people will say, oh, you can't control that. It's like, to a degree, right? Versus an ad, you can completely control that, like to the T. And you can track of like what you need to improve on to get a better ROI. However, there are things that are not in our control, and so it's important for you to understand that, and understand that you have to continue trying your best to create, what, like you said, that good content that is required for you to build an audience, build brand recognition, gain clients, and that process takes a different timeline than everyone. For me, it took a couple months, and then it took 3 years to where I'm at now. But you look at very successful people. I mean, you look at Joe Rogan, the number one podcast in the world. He said his podcast was not profitable for the first 4 years, right? And it's like, you think if he had a direct ROI mindset with his podcast, that he would be where he's at right now? Absolutely not. And so it's a different mindset and philosophy that you have to kind of adapt to if you want to succeed in the long term.
I'm also finding that in the reverse with myself. I had to understand what my value is and what I bring to the table, because I explain to people it is an investment, right? Like, I can't guarantee that for every, $1,000 some odd dollars you spend, you're going to get thousands of clients back. Like, we are investing in your future content and how we're going to create this and how we're going to roll this out. And so at first it was really hard for me to just see my own value as a business owner, with 20 plus years of experience creating content on TV and radio and podcasting, all the things, and now content creation. I mean, I've been a storyteller my whole life. I've been a producer my whole life, pretty much. So it's like, at first, I think I devalued what I was bringing to the table. And now I'm looking for those bigger yeses, essentially. And it took me a while. Did it take you a while in the beginning when you're like, hey, I'm 18 and I'm starting this business and this is what this is going to cost you? How did you get to the space where you're at now with the confidence to say, hey, my one-on-ones cost this much money?
Yeah, again, goes back to proof. So I started out initially charging my 30-minute calls for like $15, because as an 18-year-old, I'm like, oh, that's, $30 an hour. That's way better. That's double than what I'm making right now. So it looked good for me, but also I was just more focused on getting results, getting reps, improving my workflow, teaching process, coaching, all that type of stuff. And so I did that for, God, at least a couple dozen calls, and just gradually kept increasing my price until, the quantity of calls that I was getting were decreasing. And it only happened until I started getting in the 200 range per 30-minute call. And I was like, all right, so this is kind of where I'm kind of capping myself, or at least outpricing myself out of the market. And so I needed to make a business change there. And I, obviously invested in my business, worked with multiple coaches, had multiple mentors to teach me that, when you're wanting to scale coaching, you have to take your time and you out of the delivery of the value. And you do that by creating a scalable program or scalable service, so to speak. Because I was always under the impression that you had two ways of scaling coaching. Either A, you increase your price, or B, you hire coaches under you that could take on clients at a significantly lower price. And it's like, those are two ways of scaling, but not the only two ways. The other way is to create that scalable program that basically offers as like a course or a textbook of knowledge that people just genuinely need, along with worksheets and assignments and checkpoints, ongoing support, and then weekly group calls to make sure that they're staying on track, to make sure that they're getting their profiles audited and their videos reviewed and stuff like that. But I took one 30-minute call to, like, that was one-on-one, to an hour group call with 10 other people that were paying me just as much, if not more. And so you could start to see that if I'm getting, 10 people in paying me, call it 2, 3, 4,000, whatever, for a 3-month program, that's only costing me about, an hour of the group call, plus all the reviews, plus all the ongoing support, call it 10, 15 hours a week. And I can create multiple groups, and I could start to really scale this instead of just having to do all these one-on-one calls. But initially, yeah, you have to get in the reps. You have to perfect your product, your service, and you have to get your audience or your clients results, or else you're never going to drive future clients. You're never going to drive future referrals that could potentially come in. And so I was just focused on that initially. And that's why I always recommend people to do free work, get the reps in, get the results in, and then, start to gradually charge for what you're offering based on the value and, what you're offering. I think the last thing I will say to this is people need to understand that people only buy things that they believe the perceived value is higher than the price of where it's at. People only stop buying things when the perceived value is lower than the price. And so your goal should be to always have this perceived value of your product or service be higher than the price. And if people are not buying it, then they're probably telling you that they don't believe in that. And so you have to really create this bad offer or product or service that people feel stupid saying no. And that's a term from Alex Ramosi that I'm sure all of us have heard, but it's true.
It is true. It's 100% true. Are you focusing on the coaching, or did you ever think to scale the business and have editors to help with the process, to help with your clients? Because I know that's for me at least, because that's my niche.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue is I have all this content and I don't know what to do with it. And I don't have time. I'm a mom. I don't have time to sit and edit every day. So I started offering just editing service. Send me your iCloud link from the day and I'll edit your vlog, or I'll have my editor literally overnight. She's up, I'm sleeping, and she's editing. Did you ever think to scale and add those services? Or are you just keeping it coaching?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing the editing services for about 1.5 years now. And that does relatively well. I mean, but I'm more focused on coaching because in terms of just the business aspects, I mean, that's our 80-20. That produces 80% of our revenue, and that takes 20% of our effort and resources. And so plus, profit margins are a lot higher with that type of stuff. And so I love coaching, and I really focus on, promoting that with my audience. And, but, occasionally people need the editing side. And so we offer that as well, along with the strategy to make sure that people are not just getting terrible videos. So Yeah, we integrated that. It's just, in terms of scaling it, it's difficult because or it's not like, yeah, it's difficult, but it's just really not our focus because the consulting side, the coaching side just does so well. It's like, why would we, add on another 5 editors when A, we don't have that amount of demand for it, but also B, it's going to cost a lot more money to pay these editors when we're not getting the demand for it. So it just doesn't really make any logical sense for my business model. But again, yeah, we still have it. It's just something that we don't really focus on that much.
In another podcast, you mentioned quickly that your dad, was he an NFL player?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is your father?
Rob Fredrickson.
What did he play? I don't know football.
Yeah. Outside linebacker.
Sure.
Outside linebacker. He was drafted from the Raiders in 1994. Played there for 4 years. Then got traded to the Lions. Played there for a year, and then traded to the Arizona Cardinals. Played there for 4 years. Retired in 2003.
What did you learn from him? Because that's a tough business. It's not easy what he did, and physically, mentally, the whole thing. What did you learn from Dad?
I think the big thing that he's done so well for me and my brothers is lead by example. He's not this rah type of guy. He's more of a lead by example, and what I gained from it is you have to put in the work. It's just plain and simple. And you have to have that discipline to do the work that is required for you to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish, regardless of how you're feeling. Those were the big things that I learned from him. And then obviously, it's like not comparing yourself with other people. He grew up in a very, very small town. And that was always like a curious kind of element for me where I'm like, how did you stand out in this small crowd? How did you not get discouraged? And he's like, never compared myself because it just does nothing for you. Because your life is different from everyone else's. There's no sense of comparing yourself and where you're at with where other people are. And they're at different stages in their life. They have different mindsets. They have different ambitions. They have different interests. And for you to compare yourself to that person or persons is just a waste of time for you. And takes your eye kind of off the prize of what you want to do, of what you want to accomplish. But I would say leading by example is definitely the big one for me. And that's what I always try to do with my content and my work is not just tell people to, post every single day, but to actually do it. Not just tell people to, provide value in their videos, but actually do it. To not have products, but to have valuable products and to do that. I think that carries a lot of credibility. It creates a lot of confidence and allows you to just continue going and continue to help others around you.
Well, and I was trying to make an analogy and it wasn't going to work, but the difference between NFL and life is in NFL, the goalposts don't move. And I feel like in life, the goalposts will always move, right? There really is never an end. The finish line, we don't get to it, right? Yeah. The bigger, you got 100K followers, but then you wanted 150, right? From 150, you wanted 200. We always want more. And so to wrap all this up, I really want to ask you, and I asked you this in our other conversation. I want you to talk to other people about it. If I was going to start today, I'm going to start right now. I want to do this content thing. I want to get my message out there. What advice do you have for people that are just starting now?
Something you probably don't want to hear, but it is to start now. Like literally post a video today.
Post right now.
Because the issue is a lot of people, they don't start because they're uncertain. And they have a fear of doing it wrong or doing it incorrectly or wasting time. And the thing is that you're not going to gain the necessary clarity and information that you need to answer those questions until you start. Action produces clarity. Action produces feedback. It produces dopamine. It produces momentum for you to continue taking action. So, try your hardest to start immediately. Now, for me, that was just figuring out what do I want to do with my content? Who do I want to create content for? And what do I want to do for them? now initially for me, my first account, it was create content for young adults and teenagers that are interested in business, life improvement, and mindset. And just, all right, here are some content ideas that I think are good and that I should create all of them. There's no right or wrong, just create all of them. If you don't know how to structure your videos, or if you think you're doing so incorrectly, don't worry about that. Like, focus on getting 100 videos done. Focus on getting a set number of videos done every single day. Focus on what you can control, which is that. You can't control the amount of views you get, the amount of followers you get. You can't control that at the end of the day. And so control what you can, and that is your output, your consistency, your research, what you're doing with your content. And once you start to post, say 10 videos, you'll start to get a good sense of your style, your audience, your framework, what you like, what you don't like, what is working, what is not working. And honestly, I would say 100 videos instead of 10, because 10 you can easily create and just quit. But focus on the long term and actually commit to this, because for me, I would honestly regret it a ton if I didn't give this 100% and if I just half it. Like, and that's why for me, I was like, I'm going to go 6 months straight, 3 times a day. And for me, it was attainable. It made sense. And I just thought that, I would have enough reps to where I would accidentally get good or accidentally pop off. And that's all you really need. And so for a lot of people, it's 6 months straight, 3 times a day, go hard and go at it and just try to serve people, try to create content that they want to watch. If you don't know what content to create or how to create it, like, put some research into it. Like, Google search, how do I create TikTok videos? How do I edit on CapCut? How can I make my
There's
videos better?
There's a YouTube for everything. That's what I tell people now that want free help. I'm like, just YouTube it at this point.
Yeah. And I have obviously a ton of TikTok videos and a ton of guides and all that type of stuff of which you can get and use, but don't let these things stop you from posting now. Like, post now, post now, post now, post now. I can't stress it enough. The biggest regret I had was not starting earlier. I contemplated starting for months on stupid stuff, like what other people would think about me, how I would show up and be an embarrassment or doing something wrong. It's like, it's pointless. It doesn't get you anywhere.
You have to learn that you cannot control how you're perceived. I cannot control how you bring different life experiences to the table, and you will perceive me in a completely different way. It's just the reality that we live in. And once I realized, like, oh wait, I can't control how I'm perceived, it freed me. And also, again, creating in the dark. There's something amazing, like, just like you said, do it now, do it today. And if don't worry about the numbers. Who cares? Do it in the dark. Create in the dark. It's so much easier to do it when you don't have an expectation.
Yeah. And the big thing is, like, most people just don't know what to post. Like, I'm sure people are listening to this and they're like, Stone, like, I get it. I need to start now. I just don't know what to post. There's so many things that I like and so many things that interest me. I just don't know what to post. Create a video about that. Like, my goal is to become a full-time content. My goal is to become a full-time content creator. Yet I don't know one thing I am doing or one thing I'm going to post. But here's what I'm focused on: X, Y,
well,
Z.
follow the process. I want to do that about YouTube streaming. I want to be a YouTube streamer. I have no idea what the I'm doing, but I will show you trying to do the thing, and that's the goal. And it will help me, I think, keep me accountable of doing it by showing me doing it. Accountability is huge.
It keeps you accountable, because you don't want to make a video that shows that you don't know what you're doing, but also you're not doing anything about it. You want to, if anything, you're going to probably want to make a video that shows that you don't know what you're doing, but you are doing X, Y, Z to help you in this sense, right?
Exactly.
And so 100%, it keeps you accountable. But also, like, identify your goals, identify what you truly want to do in life, regardless if you're creating content around it. And most importantly, if you don't create content around it, and create videos around it, because it needs to be a goal that you want to accomplish if you were creating content around it or not. So that way you would actually try to accomplish it when you do create content around it. And that makes it 10 times more interesting. It could literally be being a professional athlete, being a better cook, being an entrepreneur, starting a clothing brand, like whatever it is for you. Create content around it, and just try to impact people around what you know, what you like, what you want to be known for. That's the best advice I could give you right now, instead of, overloading you with a bunch of tactical advice that's just going to overwhelm you and not actually get you to start. Focus on one viewer. Don't focus on the millions that you think might watch you. Focus on one, talk to one, because you are talking to one. You're not talking to millions. People are not watching your content on a projector with 20 other people around there. They're watching it themselves. Talk to one person, talk as if they're a human being, because they are. Don't start your videos off with, hey guys, so my name is Susie and this is what I'm like. People don't care. Like, gives them something that they would care about. I just quit my minimum wage job to become a full-time content creator, and I don't have an idea of what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Like, do tell. Right?
And really quickly, before we go, where did the name Stone come from?
That's my name.
Like, your parents legitimately named you Stone? Did you ever ask them why?
Yeah, so my dad's favorite author is Stone Barrington. He's the author of all the Stuart Woods novels. And the main character in that Stuart Woods, I think, is the author. Stone Barrington is the character in all of those books. And it just ringed. He liked it. Stone.
I love it. It works so perfectly.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
All right. So if people have seen this and they're like, okay, I can't do this alone, I need Stone in my life, how do they contact you?
Yeah. So everything is on my Stan store, which is like my link site. I'm sure Rachel will link it down below, but
I will.
I have a free 4-step guide on there that'll help every single one of you. You can get it for free. You can apply to book a one-on-one call with me, and we can discuss your goals, where you're at, and where you want to go, and what I believe is best for you, in terms of whether it be working with me or someone else or doing it yourself. And then, like I said, all my socials are on there. So make sure to, click on whatever one that you're on most and follow me.
I love it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
For all the tens of hundreds of people watching. I love it. I had to start somewhere, though. And I ask. I get it. I've gotten a lot of yeses from content creators and people that are small businesses that have huge followings. So that's the other thing. Like, if you want to do something, just try, ask. Just ask. It's been the best learning experience for me. It's just, hey, are you willing to do this? And most times I get a yes.
Yeah.
So I think I'm pretty good at what I do, but that's okay. Well, pat myself on the back on social media. I'll post about it later. Thank you so much. You're the best. I really do. Ever since I saw you probably in your first few videos, and I was like, damn it, this kid, you have the thing, and you have the thing, and you have the thing. Not everybody has the thing, but if you don't have the thing and you're not comfortable on camera, there are other ways to make content. You can do faceless accounts, right? You can have AI voiceover stuff. There are other ways to create content if you want to show up and don't want to have your face on, or you don't feel comfortable speaking. There's multiple ways to do this. I don't want people to have that as the barrier of entry, right? You may not be as amazing as Stone is talking, but if you have a story to share, if you have something to share, don't be scared to share it. There's many ways that you can do it, and Stone can absolutely help you figure that out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Have an amazing day.
You too.
All right. Bye, Stone.